Good evening and welcome to Mountain Bears. I'm Aeson, and of course, with me tonight is the cubby with mostest, Techy-Joe. How are you, darling?
I'm doing well now that you're out of my seat.
Well, thank
I had to
you.
move you around.
You always bounce me around.
You know, this is
Unintended.
good. Hey,
So, how was your
Brenda.
Valentine's?
How's my what now?
How was your Valentine's?
It was pretty good.
Did you have fun?
I got the bear.
Yeah, you got a bear. What else you get?
I got some candy.
Uh-huh.
Apparently, Devin got 9 inches of snow. Oh,
Yeah.
that's not the Valentine treat anyone wants.
Well, not of snow, but,
Well, that was
surprise. A surprise.
Devin's a yuck regardless. Okay. Hey, Mika.
Hi, Mika. Hi, Brenda. Oh, yeah. And driving back today. Of course, your Valentine. Hello, Miss Shannon. Y'all all showing up. Maybe we need to reschedule till 9.
We used to be. We've screwed them up.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Make a note of it. We'll bring it up in the barista meeting.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Oh, Devin gave my daughters candy, flowers, and necklaces. Aww. Very nice.
Very nice. But no, driving back from massage, because of course, Valentine's Day, I have to rearrange the weekly pattern.
You know, that happens, though. I think we should all be prepared for it. Even our massage therapist gets to have a Valentine's Day.
Yes. So moved everything around and, literally from leaving massage to I get to one stoplight.
Mm-hmm.
And between one stoplight and the other stoplight, I went through 3 seasons.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And today changed in a hurry.
It did. It was quick, fast, and deliberate.
Yes. Yeah. It was holding no punches.
Mm-hmm. It is what it is, but it was kind of okay. Sorry we're late. I don't like being late, but it happened.
It happened.
Yes.
We're here. We made it.
Yeah.
I didn't get wasabi, but it's okay.
You got Kobe yesterday.
I know, but I wanted wasabi today.
And again, we can make that work later.
On Sunday. I know. I'll be good. I just had to point it out.
Okay.
I had chicken cordon bleu instead. We had picked up a 2-pack of chicken cordon bleu, and since I didn't feel like actually doing anything else, I went ahead and had the 2-pack.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not that big. They're like that big a piece.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I want all the silver. Okay, like he got to do nothing but work on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's fair in exchange for all alternative Valentine's Day.
Uh-huh.
The Kobe and wasabi fusion. That's not so bad. That's not so bad.
It's not so bad. And it's not like you got totally ignored.
You were working. You were busy.
I understand that, but you woke up to a lovely box of chocolate.
I know. Like, you totally threw me. I thought we were actually doing full alternative this year.
No, you always get your Valentine's box.
Oh, you got to try the chicken cordon bleu.
Yeah.
Now it may be some people's like version of the candy apple for me. But you know, you gotta love the ham, the mozzarella, all inside of a chicken breast that's been breaded.
See, I've always thought it should be Swiss. See, I have this idea for my version of chicken.
I'm sorry, it is Swiss. You're right. It is Swiss.
Yeah.
Ham Swiss and all inside of a chicken breast.
Right.
Very lovely. Very lovely experience.
Yeah. One time when I'm feeling like experimenting. Note the word experimenting.
Uh-huh.
I want to try to do my version of country chicken cordon bleu.
Oh, there's going to be gravy?
No, there isn't. It's going to be bacon. Ham and Swiss cheese. Put that inside of a butterfly cut of chicken breast.
Mm-hmm.
Shut the chicken out and a slice of pear or apple. I haven't decided yet. Follow me. On the outside of the chicken breast, wrap that in bacon. Then batter dip that sucker in and fry
it. I think you've done too much.
I think it'll be delicious.
I mean, possibly, but it seems like too much.
No.
Brenda's down for the pear inside.
Uh-huh.
I don't know about all this. Like, it seems extra.
It is extra.
I mean, that is some country, though.
Uh-huh.
I mean, especially if you do like a full basket weave bacon wrap.
Uh-huh. Either that or you do just the standard wraparound with bacon to seal the chicken.
Mm-hmm.
I think we could rock that. With a nice honey Dijon mustard dip.
No. Now you've just gone places. You're just doing things to my pork chop recipe and just getting all crazy.
No, I actually saw a chicken recipe that was literally the copy of your pork chop recipe. I thought I could do that with a cordon bleu style.
Okay.
Either that or upscale it with prosciutto if I could find nice prosciutto.
Now that could be nice.
Yeah.
Although the expense of prosciutto.
It's worth it.
I mean, you could. Well, granted, you could also just like go completely wild, and you can go get the little prosciutto wrapped cheese sticks, and load those in to a butterfly chicken breast.
Mm-hmm.
You could do that.
Again, I have to find me a meat smith butcher that I like.
Pete Smith?
Yes.
Oh, good God. He's like a blacksmith, but for meat.
No, he's a blacksmith.
Butcher.
And a butcher together.
No. Oh. I mean, there are worse combo professions.
Yeah. Like, he not only can cut the meat, but he can make you a skill to fit the meat.
I mean, defense attorney bail bondsman doesn't bode well.
That's a conflict of interest. All right.
Especially if that's your accountant that started all of it.
Exactly. Welcome to small town West Virginia, where they have multiple jobs because in this economy.
Oh, God. Don't even remind me of the pet superstore tax agency, and I forget the other thing. I always forget the other thing they do. It's all one building. It's all one family.
Uh-huh.
The rooms just flow into each other. It's a continuous business.
That could work. That could work.
Meat artisan. Meat artisan.
Right. There we go. So which one do you want to cover first?
Oh, I thought you sent them to me in order.
Let's cover them in order then.
All right. So polyamory gets more attention and legal protection.
Yeah.
So yeah. We got some things coming with this one. So when it comes to love, more people are considering options other than monogamy. So media coverage, a buzzy new memoir, and shows like Couple to Throuple are bringing polyamory into mainstream conversations, but limited laws are only beginning to protect people from the stigma that can come with being in relationships with more than one person. One major factor that led to this moment, the panini. An already increased interest in non-monogamy grew during lockdown when people had more time to consider their sexual identities and what they wanted out of relationships, says Anna Karova, CEO of sex-positive dating app Field. Daters more open to polyamory. By the numbers, data is limited on the prevalence of polyamory, and surveys differ in how they ask about relationship preferences. But there seems to be an uptick in openness to polyamory. About 1/3 of polled American singles say they've had a consensually non-monogamous relationship, according to Match 2024 Singles in America study. And a slightly higher proportion describe their ideal relationship as something other than complete monogamy in a 2023 YouGov survey. Fields seen a 500% increase over the last 3 years in the number of app users, including the terms ethically non-monogamous and polyamorous in their profiles, Karova says. 33% of current OkCupid users said they'd consider an open relationship, up from 27% in 2014. And there was a 45% increase in profile mentions of terms relating to non-monogamy between
2021 and 2023. The company tells Octavius, meanwhile, infidelity is the leading cause of divorce for non-monogamy couples. Understand? Monogamy?
No. Leading cause of divorce for monogamous couples.
Uh-huh.
It's not doing much on the non-monogamous.
Yeah, I'll say it's equal across the board.
Well, yeah, because that is a thing that does come up, is that it's not ethically cheating or permission to cheat, more importantly.
Right.
There is still the possibility to cheat in a non-monogamous relationship. Right. So there is that. Don't ever forget that part. It is important. There will be a test later.
It will be. So, we cover a lot of the stigmas and the challenges, but there's been some new laws that's quite interesting. When we go into it, we got Somersville and Cambridge and Arlington allowing more than 2 people to be a domestic partnership. Sandridge and Cambridge also have laws protecting polyamory and non-nuclear family structure from discrimination in employment and more. So what's next? Emerging in the legal process of non-traditional families elsewhere in the U.S. Last year, a New York judge broke legal precedents and to protect the rights of a polyamorous partner in a eviction court case. This week, California cities Berkeley and Oakley introduced family and relationship structure non-discrimination bills. Representatives from PLAC tells Axios.
Yes. So what they're saying, as a millennial living in Oakland, I know plenty of people who are polyamorous, but wouldn't say that out loud, says Oakland Council member Janai Ramachandran, who says she's the first LGBTQ woman of color to serve on the council. She plans to introduce the non-discrimination ordinance protecting diverse family and relationship structures to the Rules Committee Thursday, she tells Axios. She hopes it could lead to a waterfall effect and encourage school districts and even the state legislation to protect all kinds of families.
Right.
Oh, something tells me no one's going to like that there's going to be people who dislike that last quote.
Well, of course, there's always going to be the people that don't get it.
Well, because when you bring the kids in,
right.
You know what I mean? Like, and the reality is this is already occurring, and it's generally considered
right.
actually beneficial versus harmful.
Right.
Village to raise a child is what I'm trying to say. And with polyamory, you do typically end up with a village.
Yeah. And especially as the family generational structures change.
Mm-hmm.
And kids right now, well, kids since like the 80s, in my thinking, have been living in a polyamorous family structure, but not because their parents are polyamorous, but because they've got a mother, a father, a stepfather, a stepmother, another stepfather, another stepmother,
Mm-hmm.
all entering and exchanging their lives. And I think it changes the way children see relationships and adults.
Absolutely.
Right.
Sorry, I was looking to see if it really is a bait shop.
Right.
I know they sell bait. Like sideways, but yeah, they do, but I don't think that's the other business. Now I
Right.
have to know, because I know it's a few things.
Right. Oh yeah, and step siblings. I forgot step siblings, step aunts, step uncles, and then Shannon says,
have been a part of the child's life, then they can be guardians in a familiar settings, as opposed to going to a strange family or foster care.
Right. Up one.
Oh, yeah, I think it would be good to have legal protections and definitions where kids are concerned, because if the birth parents pass, but a polyamorous family structure can show, oh, they have been a part of the child's life. Yeah.
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 Yeah. And it can get complicated, but it can be, and people go, oh, there's no legal protection. No, but there's a lot of LLC. Let me see. Let's see how we've seen it legalized before. Joint mutual contracts, LLCs, which is, something we've looked at doing, is forming an LLC for the household.
Yeah. Trust arrangements.
Trust arrangements.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Oh, Shannon says, I'm a planner, Aeson. I think of bad things that can happen and how to handle it. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, because,
it's kind of required.
It is. And it's kind of like we had a rush when you had your neck surgery.
Yeah, had to go get some documents signed.
Yeah. And then working things out and figuring out things. It can be quite complicated, but it can be pulled together. And yeah, you have to, especially when you have children, when you have complicated relationships, when you have non-contact families.
Yeah, that can be especially hard. Like and it's the weird part of polyamory is that it sometimes it's not that there's an actual pre-existing problem,
right,
that sends the family non-contact.
Right.
It's the polyamory
right
that ends up creating the situation that then becomes a non-contact.
Exactly.
So yeah, and we've seen that happen. I think everyone, I don't think there's anyone in polyamory that hasn't known of at least someone that's happened to. It's common enough.
Yeah.
That there's sometimes it's just the one family member or one partner that just their head explodes.
Can't keep up with it, or just have problems. And we're seeing an increase in this. Personally, I'm seeing an increase of forced attempted contact from families that have gone non-contact here recently. And that's kind of annoying and scary.
Do what now? Sorry, I was catching up on Shannon's comments and I was trying to... I'm sorry. What now?
I'm seeing a lot of people that have gone no contact with their family.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly those non-contact, and this may be oppressed from the right wing, like you haven't even talked to them in 20 years and suddenly they're sending cards and letters and trying to assert themselves back into your lives.
Oh, what the hell?
Yeah, I was because I follow some family bloggers because Lord knows I could use some of the help they have.
Mm-hmm.
But there's at least like 4 of them have suddenly started to deal with insanity when it comes to people they've gone non-contact with.
They're just trying to walk back at.
Yeah.
Just we're not taking no for an answer. We have tracked you down.
Right.
Like, we are not going to listen to this.
Yeah, and it's
like hot. But and see, here's the irony in that. Like, it's almost funny because that kind of behavior is what most likely got you no contact,
right,
in the first place.
Right, and it's like, all right, I don't remember the TikToker's name, but the mother-in-law demanded to see the child to give them their birthday present. So they give them the birthday present, and this is before they went non-contact.
Right.
Okay. And then hands them an envelope. And the envelope has, because the parents have made decisions that they're not going to take the children to Disneyland until the children are old enough to enjoy Disneyland.
Right.
You know, you don't take a 4-year-old to Disneyland. They're not going to remember it.
Like, they're 4 starting to get in the age of memory, but is it going to be worth the memory?
Right.
Like, it's going to be like minuscule amounts of memory.
Right.
But yeah, getting up to like 8 or 9 is probably, to me, would be a more appreciable age. Like, if you really want to make this the one and done, 8 or 9 is right there on that borderline where you're at the end of your childhood, or like early childhood, and the I don't remember things part.
Right.
And you're starting to,
and he's starting to ease into the prepubescent years. But anyway, they hand her this envelope, and it looks like a card. And they demand that she open it up, and she opens it up, and it's one of those engraved tickets to Disneyland, like the golden ticket, with her name on it, and says, "We'll take you to Disneyland whenever your parents allow us to do." And I am like, no, that is insane.
Because you know when they want to go.
Now! Right. You know, so the parents are now dealing with this child that is like, Disneyland, Disneyland, Disneyland. And then on the other side of it, and then flash forward 2 more years, and they're like, they had to call the cops because the woman, the grandmother, who has done other horrid things to this family, is beating down the door trying to get into the house. Yeah. I mean, it's just gone insane.
Like, there are horror stories of reasons for why people are no contact with their parents. It's why I do try to be really sensitive, and I think everyone should. Because I know it gets especially painful if you have great parents, and you miss them, they've passed, that it becomes kind of this like life mission to tell people that, well, you should call your father, you should call your mother, and it's like, please don't. Like, is there an arguable chance that you're dealing with someone who they are the problem for the no contact with their parents? Like, they're the ones with the issue. Like, they're paranoid and they're crazy. Is that possible? Yes. But try to understand, there really are situations in which, and it's none of your business. But there really are situations where it's like, this is the best relationship we can have, is none at all. Because everything else is going to be like lawsuits, restraining orders. Like, this isn't going to just be, we don't talk to each other. This is going to be, there's a court order.
And
someone's going to get locked up.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's the signs currently and Pluto being where it's at, but it's like these people have gone cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and like trying to force connection. And it's like, no.
I don't know that it's quite that complicated. I'm assuming somewhere in the land of like fundamental Christianism,
Right.
there has probably become a new talking point for this situation.
Right.
That instead of like, and it's like sometimes fundies are fun. Because like when you talk about like different religions that shun or excommunicate, they are the ones that from a religious elder perspective make a no contact situation. Like you contact your child, you contact your mother because they've left the religion,
right?
Then you get punished for this. Like you shouldn't do that. You can't do that. It's bad to do that.
Right.
They're going to corrupt you. But then we turn around and fundies go like a total different direction.
Right.
And they do not like this concept.
Right.
That you're
well,
not
they don't currently.
Right.
So some really good news out of Greece. This now gets added to the possible retirement spots, darling.
Oh, there we go. So Greece has become the first Christian Orthodox majority country to legalize same-sex marriage. Same-sex couples will now also be legally allowed to adopt children after Thursday's 176-76 vote in Parliament. Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis said the new law would boldly abolish a serious inequality, but it has divided the country with fierce resistance led by the powerful Orthodox Church. Its supporters held a protest rally in Athens. Many displayed banners, held crosses, read prayers, and sang passages from the Bible in the capital's Syntagma Square. The head of the Orthodox Church, the Archbishop, said the measure would corrupt the homeland's social cohesion. Sorry, it's just all about the difficult names this evening.
Right. The bill needed a simple majority passing through the 300-member parliament. Mr. Machaki had championed the bill, but required the support of the opposite parties to get it over the line, with dozens of MPs from his central-right governing party opposed. People who have been invisible will finally be made visible around us. And with them, many children will finally find their rightful place, Prime Minister told Parliament during the debates ahead of the vote. The reform makes the lives of several of our fellow citizens better without taking away anything from the lives of so many. Hey, great.
Absolutely. It is wonderful news for Greece. So we are excited for them. They've definitely been lagging behind on this one.
Well, they've been held up by, older generations still in power. They've been held up with, this. But, it's like there are towns in Italy that are selling houses for $1. And I'm talking mega houses. The Europe's lost a lot of its population, and they're all reading the writing on the wall. And then there is that overlying thing that we're seeing a lot in the U.S., but a lot worldwide, is there are orphans left, right, and center. And they're like, oh, you want to adopt? Let's fix this problem.
Yeah. And it does end up becoming a major issue.
Yeah.
Like we have a lot of kids that need homes.
Right.
Like it's not a hard bouncy ball to follow. And quite frankly, there's zero difference. If anything, it's slightly better, but even the science is a little. It's been back and forth on that.
Well, it's been back and forth a lot on this, and here's why. Is because they always want to do statistics.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody remembers the college statistics course, you can make the numbers say
lies,
anything
damn lies, and then there's statistics.
Yes.
Said Dr. V. Welcome to statistics.
Yes.
Sorry, that was her introduction to the class. She gave it to every single class every single year.
Yeah.
She was very, very well rehearsed in it.
Yeah. Well, and that's right. I didn't have Dr. V, but, my professor basically said, you can make numbers say anything you want them to say. That's why when they say 3 to 1, 3 to 1 what?
Yeah.
In a pool of 100, 3 to 1, people prefer sriracha on their eggs. So sriracha should be part of your diet. Literally, that's how, eggs raise your cholesterol. Eggs are good for cholesterol. Don't eat eggs. It's all statistical bullshit.
Yeah, there's just the general premise in statistics.
Right.
If you throw out enough outliers,
right,
then the data becomes very normal very quickly.
Right.
However, you're also supposed to ask how many outliers are outliers before the outliers become the data.
Exactly.
And what you're trying to prove is the outlier.
Yeah. I think it's more so the story. What story do you want to tell? And, I prefer stories. I prefer solid data. Like out of 100 people we interviewed, 47 of them believe that Gatorade is better for you than water.
Well, and the more important part with research is a study is one thing. It literally is. It's one thing.
Right.
The questions become: is the way you got the data legitimate?
Right.
Did it ask and answer what you truly think it asked and answered? But then more importantly, can you repeat it?
Right.
Because if you can't repeat it, you have a fluke.
Right. And see, and it's the way of answering, and something that was made important in our classes, you ask the question both ways.
Like, I'm pretty sure if you ask 100 employees of Crest what the best toothpaste is, you're going to have a high preponderance who say Crest products.
Right.
Just going to go out on a limb. Now, there's going to be an outlier that's like, yeah, maybe not.
Right. But if you reverse it and go, what toothpaste do you think is worse for your teeth? You should get the opposite results.
Well, but here's the thing, though, is, you're going to end up with a list of competing products. But the problem being, you only asked Crest employees.
Right.
And what the hell do Crest employees have to do?
Right.
I mean, yes, they're an expert in their field. But are they really the experts you want to talk to?
Right.
About the best toothpaste.
Right.
It seems like they might have an incentive.
Correct. All
but
right.
we see this. We see this in legitimate studies, or supposedly legitimate studies, with like hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars thrown at them, to produce survey results, study results, that say just that.
Right.
Like, hi, I'm Crest. Here's $1 million. Go get me, a 99.9% of people.
Right.
Use, say that Crest is the best toothpaste.
Right.
And you can find someone, a poor poor. Well, it's usually not poor, because once you make this choice, you tend to get rich quickly. But some beleaguered,
Right.
You don't get there quickly. You go through struggle. But beleaguered researcher, who will bend all ethics and give you a 99%.
Right.
And a short list of people to fire from your company.
Right. Or like, dentist preferred. Which dentist? Did my dentist get asked this question? No, because he lives in Little Town, West Virginia.
Well, but also it starts bringing up, like, what dentist did you ask? Because I doubt you managed all of them.
Right.
But if you did manage all of them, who asked the question and what were they holding as they did it?
Exactly.
Did you only interview dentists that this company already has an existing relationship with?
Right.
Like it gets tricky, because you can make data say whatever you want if you ask the right people the right questions the right way. Like, no. Statistics is fun. I think the biggest problem with statistics is you really ought to start with dismantling statistics,
right,
as an entire class,
right,
before you actually go into learning statistics.
right.
Because I think somewhere in dismantling statistics, you would
Right.
learn more
Right.
than you do by first learning how to do statistics.
Right.
And then,
Right.
usually there's a segment on, like, dismantling statistical problems.
Right.
And finding the flaw in the data.
Right.
That, like, no, that doesn't say what you think it says. Like, it says a thing, or it says that, but
right.
It doesn't mean what you think it does.
Right.
So, yeah. And there have been a lot of studies that have been ripped apart in peer review.
Right.
Unfortunately, long after they have made national headlines.
Right.
There was one a while back, and it always shocked me that someone didn't sit back and go, how the fuck is that possible?
Exactly.
It was something like if I remember right, it was some sensational headline, and it was everywhere. That like 2/3 of people, or 2/3 of men who have sex with men have HIV and don't know it. And it was one of those, you read the headline and you're like, holy shit. And then it kicks in and says, how the hell did that happen? There's no way, we're going to be dead in like minutes. But then you read the survey. And it ends up articulating very clearly of people who are tested that are HIV positive.
Right.
2/3 of those people did not know that they were going to test HIV positive, that they had HIV. That's what the survey or the data actually showed.
Right.
Which is not a pretty headline. It's a long sentence with a lot of like, so, okay, out of a sample of, let's say, 1,000 people get tested. Of those that got tested and had a positive result,
right,
2/3 of them did not know.
Right.
Versus, that's not everyone who was tested was HIV positive. It's so if you have 1,000 people that get STI tested, and 20 test positive.
Right.
2/3 of those 20 people did not know they were HIV positive.
Right.
Out of a survey of 1,000 people, your actual sample size is 20. That's generally considered statistically irrelevant.
Exactly.
Because your actual sample to draw the conclusion
right.
it is not big enough to extrapolate backwards into the rest of the population.
Right.
You're talking about 20 random people.
Exactly.
Can you repeat it? Guess what couldn't happen in this study? You can't really repeat it.
No.
Sometimes it's half.
Right.
Sometimes it's all of them.
Right.
Like if your numbers follow the same and like out of your 1,000, 20 test positive.
Right. It's insane. It's like that's why I like data. I don't like statistics.
Oh yeah. It's definitely statistical bullshit. Yes, that is the perfect words for it. And you can make lots of money shoveling it. Like and companies will pay you millions.
Want. Yeah, and bend it to what you want.
Yeah.
All right. So, of course, we heard that inflation fell again. Not as much as they wanted, but it fell. And we have seen prices starting to get slashed at big box retailers.
You know how Walmart says always low prices? I can tell you there's a store in Barboursville called Target. Whose prices are falling lower by the minute.
Yes.
So video shows Target store sliding down hillside in West Virginia as store is forced to close. A Target store in Barboursville, West Virginia is shut down until further notice after a slipping hillside caused it to partially collapse. The safety of our team, guests, and neighbors is our top priority, and we are continuing to work on our Barboursville store to address the recent land movement, Target said in a statement over email to USA Today Friday. The company said they will start working towards, quote, removing the damaged portion of the store starting this week and will take additional steps to prepare for construction in the coming months. Quote, we continue to closely assess the conditions of the site and partner with local officials to secure the area and repair the store as safely as possible, added Target in their statement. The store in Barboursville was initially closed on February 2nd when the hill first slipped, according to local media outlet Eyewitness News, and the company called in structural engineers and utility workers to assess broken water and sewer lines on the property. However, it received major damage Wednesday morning due to a further slipping overnight. Barboursville Mayor Chris Tatum told WSAZ last week that other businesses in the plaza will continue to be operational and are not believed to be in any danger. However, water supply to the area has been limited, as per Eyewitness News, as authorities investigate the slipping hill, causing hindrances for other businesses in the area. A West Virginia American Water spokesperson told the local media outlet that the initial slip on February 2nd damaged its water main. Portable toilets have been set up nearby to facilitate businesses in the area and their customers. Tatum told Eyewitness News that 3 homes behind the Target store received voluntary evacuation notices from Target before Wednesday's slip. The company also offered to cover the relocation costs for the residents of those homes, according to the mayor. Target, in their statement to USA Today, said that local officials notified nearby homeowners of the situation, and the company is taking steps to support them. Tatum added that the perimeter and roadway behind the building also received significant damage. So I really want to bring this up. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick.
Okay.
Because I like just talking about it, because we're calling it, the hillside slipped. doesn't really do the situation justice.
No.
Because this is a pretty significant event.
Right.
So let's go ahead and take a quick look at that. So right there. We're not talking about it moved a little. Okay. So kind of extrapolating here, it looks like that's a solid 10-foot drop.
Right.
And we're talking about what, a good solid 2 car lengths of the building?
At least.
Yeah. In addition to the rest of the parking lot that is sliding down that hill.
Right.
So yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot going on there. So yeah.
See, and I'm wondering what is causing this slip, because hillsides just don't slip for no reason.
Well, there could be a number of things that happen there. And this is where it all gets kind of interesting. It depends upon what the foundation of the building is. Like what is underneath it, not the actual foundation of the building, but what it's setting on. And what's been going on with that.
Right.
Because if it has happened before, that a bad site survey can cause land to be sold that is not stable.
Right.
Now it's also possible this is just a random event that has occurred that was unpredictable. Like there's really no telling.
Yeah. See, I'm checking something.
Okay.
Because I've had this opinion for a while now. Because if we see the road constructional repair work in West Virginia.
Oh, yeah, we run into a lot of this in our roads.
Right.
Like, we'll have entire sides of roads fall away.
Right, but we've noticed that they've gone through and they've really, like, reinforced all the bridges.
Now, I will say, judging by this picture, I don't think, because there's not an obvious water source. Because a lot of this that occurs in West Virginia does happen because of the proximity between a property and a flowing body of water. So like a river or a stream. And that when we encounter high floodwaters, the impact of the rushing water can actually drill into and erode down the embankment. This doesn't seem to be part of that kind of issue. That's what we more commonly see in West Virginia.
Right.
With our roadways. This is like, it's a very, looks like sharp cleave.
Right.
That like this whole portion dropped. Like the rest of the land is stable and there was a cleave line and it looks fairly straight. Where the hillside just thumped.
Right. But I wish they had told us when it started, because there was a 2.5.
Shannon comes to the rescue. They were warned when they built that place that the hillside was going to shift.
Yep.
So I would say much like the hillside behind the shopping center we're nearest to. That's limestone?
Sandstone.
Sandstone, yeah.
Right.
I'd say that's probably a good chunk of its problem.
I'd say that's part of the problem. I also would say that, we add in the, earthquake that happened in Kentucky, which is quite close to there.
Then we have fracking and drilling and coal mining and all the things going on with that in our state. So yeah, no, it like finding a single cause, and it may not be just one.
Right.
Like sincerely, it may not be just one. But you start combining those together. I think the interesting thing in all of this is the reality that we do not build shopping centers on pretty pieces of property.
No.
And I think that's really hard sometimes for people to understand. Is that typically when we build shopping centers, we end up building them on large pieces of land nobody wants.
Right.
Because they have issues.
Right.
Like I'm sorry, I grew up not too far, like just other side of the road and a stretch of property. From an entire shopping development that was built in a swamp.
Right.
They paved over a swampland. It floods every time it thinks about rain.
Right.
And it's been funny to watch the businesses deal with this over the years. Because what's fundamentally happened is it's everyone trying to build up.
Right.
And so you just slowly see these businesses going from where they were constructed originally or would have been and just jumping upwards as they displace even more water.
Right. But, recently we had the unknown sound being heard out of Mercer County and Mingdao County. Like, everyone heard the sound and no one knew what it was. Like, authorities don't even know what it is. And we have these micro earthquakes. Micro meaning it happens, it's affected the barometer, but it's not felt in structured people. If you got your feet on the ground with no shoes on, you'll feel something.
Well, I mean, it's not a surprise to anyone, or shouldn't be a surprise to anyone.
Right.
And if you're just learning this, I hate to inform you.
Right.
The reason we have the Appalachian Mountains is because we live on a fault line.
And a volcano.
Well, but when we say that about like California, people think about land masses moving apart from each other.
Right.
In West Virginia, it's because two land masses slammed into each other.
Right.
And they are slammed together. Now, that does end up pushing land up, but it also means that at certain points, you're going to get rumbles and tremors. And you are going to have like little baby lines develop and things fall.
Right.
Like, this is normal. This is not like, I mean, to me, it's normal. It may take 100, 200, 300 years for it to ever happen.
Right.
But when it does, it's like, okay, yeah, no.
Right.
Like, study where this is at. I bet you're going to find this is on the top of a hill. Oh, look, it's a hillside that's falling away. It's on top of a hill.
Right.
How do you think you got the hill?
Now, Mayor Chris Tooman had to go to Facebook and go, yes, the hillside is moving. Yes, Target knows it and is trying to keep people safe. For anyone invading the neighborhood of Meadow Creek, just know the majority of residents have voiced their displeasure of the extra traffic and looky-loos. You would not like it either if people were turning around in your driveway or yards. Either way, this includes some very pushy gentlemen who have been told numerous times no comment. Additionally, they aren't crazy about being told to leave in a very public manner. They fear their home safety for criminals and the additional structure damage. Law enforcement was working digitally with extra patrols, but please keep these give these people some privacy and the construction teams room to work. The safety of all affect the number is our number one thing. I think it's insane We have news media. Follow the news. Don't go look at it.
I'm just curious when the store went up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is this because you'll also see this happen as well? Like, yes, they were told this was going to happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and there are businesses that sit there and run the math.
Right.
How much is it going to cost us when it happens?
Right.
And is it worth opening the store?
Right.
And they may have decided it was worth opening and that, yep, that's going to happen.
Right.
And we'll deal with it when it happens.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
And I wonder what they were originally told.
Right.
Like the timeline would potentially be.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a cute Reddit post.
Uh-huh.
It's on our damn that's interesting. Target in my town is slipping off a hillside. And someone read the thing and was read the headline without the location, saw the image and went, I was thinking that happens all the time where I'm from. Then I saw that it's in West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yes,
right.
This is not news to us. It happens.
Right.
Crap happens. It does. It does. And I understand residents being very upset about being told forcefully, angrily to leave.
Right.
Because we see this all the time. Like, why the hell do you live in Florida? You're going to get killed by a hurricane.
Right.
People will stay through the hurricane. They will throw a party. Why the hell would you want to live in Oklahoma or Kansas? You're going to get killed by a tornado. Jesus Christ, how do you live in California with all the earthquakes? Right. You'll just die. People live there. You accept the risk.
Yeah.
And you try to recognize that this is not a daily event. It can potentially be very horrible when it happens, if it happens to you. But we have this in West Virginia as well. Like, I personally have the idea. I don't know why people still live in Mullins. Why, for the love of God, why? Or Welch. God help Welch. It's a city built in a bowl with no hole in it.
Yeah.
There's nowhere for the water to go. Every time it exceedingly rains, it fills up like a bowl. And you have to wait a very long time for the water to go down. Because you're now working with
that's
water
where I think
sites.
An alternative house build would be useful.
Okay.
Like a house that turns into a houseboat when the water lifts the pontoons high enough.
You know, talk to FEMA. They've sent enough trailers up there. Bad West Virginia jokes that I hope people in West Virginia appreciate. But seriously, though, it's kind of rude to say it that way, but it is the truth of the matter is that this area is prone to flooding.
Right.
We know it's going to flood.
Right.
We know we live in a floodplain.
Yeah.
We know this. Flood comes through, takes out your house. You get the FEMA trailer for a few months while you're waiting for the insurance claim with like 10,000 others to go through.
Right.
You get your money. You put another house right back where the one just got washed away. Why? Because you want to live there.
Right.
This is your land. You like living there.
Right.
And you pay an ungodly rate of money to insure that house because you know it's going to get replaced. Yes, dear.
Apparently 20 years ago, the engineers have already been sued for this once around 20 years ago. Exact same spot. Don't worry, though. They fixed it.
And it happened again.
Yep.
Ooh. Oh, engineers. Some engineers eating those words.
Uh-huh.
Didn't fix it. Store fall down, go boom.
Mm-hmm.
Did you build it on an Indian burial ground? Is that what happened? Is it going to fold up like origami and suck into the ground?
Right.
And then is it going to sprout up and like you pick a color, pick a, number, and then we tell your future?
Right.
Like, come on, we're playing with origami. You might as well have fun with it.
Well, I know, but I'm sitting here thinking to myself, with your play out there, you know what sprouts up next, right?
With my what now?
With your play out there of, they're just going to build a wall to the back of it. Target now becomes Dollar General.
No. It will not become a Dollar General.
Mm-hmm.
That is too nice for a Dollar General.
Right.
It has real walls made of real materials that are not corrugated metal.
Right.
A Dollar General will have no clue how to function.
Right.
The ambience would be all off.
Right.
And I'm sure the roof would leak less than any Dollar General store that exists.
Oh my God. Okay, that explains it. So they filled in a lake.
It's worse than an Indian burial ground. It's a lake.
Right.
Oh, no. No. Let me guess. It was a natural lake.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. If you look it up on Google Maps, on the regular, not satellite view, there is literally a spot of blue between Target and Marshall's.
Uh-huh. Oh, they backfilled a lake.
Mm-hmm.
Don't backfill lakes. Please don't backfill lakes.
Right.
Not in West Virginia. Please don't ever backfill a lake in West Virginia. If it's a man-made lake, you can backfill it.
No.
No. Well, technically, yes. Because a man-made lake doesn't want to be a lake.
Right.
You typically have to do a lot of shit to a man-made lake to make it a lake.
Mm-hmm.
And then even then, it doesn't want to be a lake. You backfill it really quick and easy, the lake is happy to go away. When you have a naturally occurring lake,
right,
don't backfill the lake. Please don't backfill the lake. The things you have to do are impossible.
Right.
And this will be what happens. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, no. That was worse than an Indian burial ground.
Right. Very much so.
I made that joke, for those of you who don't know, based on Poltergeist. Like, I thought that was the worst thing you could do. Build it on an Indian burial ground. Yeah, that'll go well. No, build it on a lake. Do not build it on a natural lake. Do not build on a natural lake.
Right.
Build around a natural lake, sure.
Right.
By backfilling.
Right.
The lake will want to be a lake. The things you have to do to make water go where it doesn't want to.
Right.
Will inevitably fail. Water's pretty damn good at finding its level.
Mm-hmm.
The things you have to do to divert water to make it go where it does not naturally want to go,
right,
typically don't always end well.
Exactly.
But I will say there was a long period in construction,
right,
in which we thought we had mastered this concept,
right.
Because we built some big ass bridges. We did some extraordinary things, truly, honestly. And they lasted for a while. But they're only ever as good as man-made materials can be.
Right.
And then at some future point, water does what water wants to.
Right.
What it originally did 50 years ago. And it comes back through and it rips back through.
I know, right?
Yep.
It's
so,
just...
yeah. Oh, poor Target, though. They got sold on the idea. An engineer told them that it'll be fine. It's great.
Yeah, it's just going to be okay. You know, we fixed it. Yeah.
Threw some concrete at it, some steel reinforcement. Right. It'll never move again.
Right.
Oh, but it will.
Yeah.
Oh, but it will. Because there's a whole process of what feeds that lake, and it's going to eat through till it gets back where it wanted to go.
Exactly.
I'd say all in all, somewhere in this, they're either going to find that it's the water the stormwater runoff system failed,
right?
Or there is a point before the shopping center where the water is just not doing the thing you wanted it to do. That no matter how much dirt and concrete and steel you throw at it, the water goes, no, I go this way.
Yeah.
No, I go this way.
Yeah.
This is the way. The way is here.
Right.
And you can sit there and keep saying, no, that way. Run that way. And it'll go, no.
Yeah.
No. And that's all it is. It's water.
Yeah.
It's just water. The other, there's a possible alternative here, which is it's an entire pockmarked area full of natural springs.
Right.
A secondary thing that occurs a lot in West Virginia.
Yes.
We have natural springs.
Yes. And we
some
also
of them feed lakes.
Well, that is something that I talked about years ago. Is we have so much water in West Virginia that we technically could fix the drought in Arizona, California, New Mexico, and Texas if they would allow us to transport water from West Virginia to those areas. But the federal government has water rights laws that refuse to allow the state to negotiate water transference for a fee.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can transfer animals, deer, sell deers for rattlesnakes. But we cannot transfer water, which we have too much of, for, I don't know, sand. So that we can recommit and fix some of these empty mine shafts laying around here that need something in it.
I don't know. I thought the theory behind an empty mine shaft was just leave it alone and let nature fix itself.
Yeah.
Because it will. It will. Yeah. And I'll tell you, the first thing that happens to an empty mine shaft is it ends up filling up with water.
Yes.
And the water will start eroding the mine shaft. And eventually it's going to go fall down, go boom. And so top of mine shaft, bottom of mine shaft meet like a couple in a movie.
And everything on top of the mine shaft
takes a moment.
Exactly.
And then we all hope that we don't inadvertently trap methane.
Right. Or have a massive release of methane.
That too. That can be a bad day. That can be a bad day. Especially if while fall down, go boom, cause spark.
Yeah.
Not a good day around methane.
But if we fill that with, I don't know, some of the sand, whatever, we don't have that water buildup in those places. And we don't have fall down, go boom.
Well, but is that inherently true? Not to mention, like, water finds things that other things don't.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes water just seems to be in search of itself.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes what ends up happening is you find out just how much of a shell a mine is.
Mm-hmm.
And that perhaps unbeknownst to anyone, there's a water table under this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not as far down as you think it is. And quickly that eroding water will make the connection.
Yep.
Because again, it all kind of does its thing. Water does what water does, and it does it best.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's useful. It's very useful. It's very awesome to build aqueducts, and it really truly is. But there does come a point where it takes a lot to change water's mind about where water wants to go.
Well, it needs to, like, go to California.
Well, apparently it can't go by truck. I think that's the bigger issue. Because there are pipeline systems that do move water through the U.S. from one area to another across multiple states. They've bought water rights. So like, moving water is not the issue. I think it's actually transporting it.
Right.
Like, that may be the bigger issue.
Right. You know, so we're all used to making request stations on radios. This one's throwing me for a loop.
Oh, yeah. Oklahoma country station won't play new Beyonce song. Here's why. A country music station in Oklahoma, KYKC, faced backlash for denying a fan's request to play Beyonce's new country single, Texas Hold'em. But the station's general manager is defending the decision.
Mm-hmm.
One Beyonce fan went viral on Twitter after sharing an email from Southern Central Oklahoma Radio Enterprises Broadcasting after she requested the new song. The response states, "We do not play Beyonce on KYKC as we are a country music station." Fans were outraged by the memo, and some of them even accused the station of blatant racism and discrimination against the single lady singer and claimed it should be held accountable. Other fans penned their own emails to the station about not playing Texas Hold'em, as well as Beyonce's other new country tune, 16 Carriages, which both dropped on Super Bowl Sunday. The refusal to play these songs raises concerns about the station's stance on artists of color. Whether intentional or not, such action contributes to the narrative of racial biases within the country community, one fan wrote. They about to get it, a third fan said, along with a screenshot of their email complaint. This prompted a response from SCORE General Manager Roger Harris, who explained that KYKC isn't playing the new Beyonce songs due to the size of the market. We are a small market station. We're not in a position to break an artist or help it that much, so it has to chart a little bit higher for us to add it, Harris said in a statement. But we love Beyonce here. We play her on our other top 40 and adult hit stations, but we're not playing her on our country station yet because it just came out.
Yeah, we don't have the song. And this is a problem. This is a small town country. This is a small town radio station problem. They don't get the music.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't get the music rights. They don't get shipped the music. And Universal, which is who this is put out through, clearly said, we haven't distributed it to them. They don't have rights to play it.
Well, at least this is their claim. Because if somebody calls and requests the Rolling Stones on that station, we're going to say the same thing, he said, explaining that the viral email is a standard response to fans asking to play non-country artists. All that being said, KYKC seemingly changed its tune on Tuesday. The station shared a picture of Texas Hold'em on Twitter, writing, "Lots of calls coming in for Beyonce's Texas Hold'em. It's coming up in minutes."
Right. Because they got the song.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to tell you, I am a country fan. I am a Beyonce fan. She really could have done these better. But that's my personal opinion. Keep your bees to your boxes.
Yeah. I don't know. I think this might be one of those moments where I think someone screwed up. And then there was a moment where they doubled down on it and then realized we screwed up.
Right.
That's how this is reading. It really is. It's how it reads. Is that there was an immediate about face when they realized what they had done.
Right.
But
the whole problem here is, and one of our local stations here drives me crazy. 103.7 WCIR. Do you know the last time they got new music? It was 1998. Guarantee you.
Well, but then again, it also depends upon what the station is.
It's supposedly modern R&B, modern pop. They haven't seen Lady Gaga. Modern. Not that modern anymore. W103 CIR. Fix your shit.
Oh.
All right. So that is our next favorite spot. Are you an asshole this week, Joe? I believe we'll see.
All right. Am I the asshole for giving my sister an ultimatum and ruining her wedding? For the past year and change, I, male 25, have been dating a woman named Crystal, female 45. We'd known each other for a few months beforehand, and even though both of us were apprehensive at first because of the age gap, this has been the best relationship either one of us have been in years. We haven't gotten to the place where we've been talking about moving in or getting engaged yet, but I can definitely see both of them happening in the near future. However, others haven't taken nearly as kindly to our relationship. While our respective friends generally approve of the relationship, family has been a different issue. Her son, 13 male, doesn't really like me, and while my parents are on board with our relationship, my sister Skylar, female 24, has been another issue. When she met Crystal for the first time, she openly referred to her as a, quote, cradle robber, and implied that she was grooming me, and frequently makes digs at her when we talk, such as asking if her midlife crisis has worn off yet. This has strained our relationship to a degree, as she is openly hostile towards Crystal and has been for months. Skylar's getting married in May and started sending out wedding invitations, though she only invited me and not Crystal. When I called her on it, she told me that Crystal, quote, wasn't allowed at her wedding, and that was that. We argued about this for a while before I eventually gave her an ultimatum. Either Crystal would be attending the wedding as my date, or neither of us would go. Skylar relented after this, but said something under her breath about how this would ruin her wedding as the conversation ended. So, reasons that OP has offered for why they think they might be the asshole. I strong arm my sister into inviting my girlfriend, who she doesn't like, to her wedding. She insisted that her presence would ruin her wedding.
Okay.
Yep.
Your case?
I wanted to hear yours first because I'm.
I would have returned the invite with a not coming.
I kind of feel like that's sort of what happened, though.
No,
like we just jumped the step of physically returning the invite and going, well, I won't be attending.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of jumped into the why didn't you give me a +1 option? Because you knew who I was going to +1.
Right. But no, I have this rule with family, especially family. Friends all debate on family. You don't get a choice. You either accept all of who I'm dating, or you're not in my life. You get a pink slip. Because my happiness and my peace is more important. I would have just returned it with, yes, attending, no, not attending, nope, not attending, and let her come. Why aren't you coming to my wedding? You didn't send a proper invite to my household. And left it at that.
Okay, but here's where I want to go the one step on it, though, and go, what if he had him? And that was where this conversation started. Because I feel like that's... Like, I don't argue that would have probably been the better way to handle the situation. But effectively, all he did by calling her was jump to there.
Right.
Like, so that's what I'm saying. Just pretend he did that.
Right.
He marked no, sent it back. And that's where this conversation unfolded.
Right. And that comment, not allowed either.
Okay.
Point blank. That's bullcrap. A, she's not ruining the wedding by attending. B, that's ridiculous. And C, you're being age gated here. It's discrimination all around. Your sister is a horrible person. Fire her from your life.
I'm sitting right on the fence of not the asshole.
Okay.
And everyone's shitty here. And it mostly has to do because fundamentally he did end up strong-arming his sister into inviting the girlfriend.
Right.
Which I don't necessarily think should be part of anyone's wedding day.
Right.
At the same time, the issue that the sister has is one of her own choosing.
Yeah.
To be very disrespectful of an age gap relationship.
Right.
And I wonder how disrespectful or not she would be if we were talking about let's check the ages, 45-year-old man and a 25-year-old woman. Would she have the same issues? Would she react the same?
Right.
Because I'm noticing a lot of really negative comments.
Right.
That I don't think that would be there if we were talking about this in reverse.
Right.
Now, granted, being under the rainbow umbrella, we see a lot of relationships that aren't very far off those numbers.
Yeah, if not more.
Yeah, sometimes more. Sometimes it's different ages and a different difference. But not far off. This is a 20-year age gap.
Right.
So Crystal could respectfully be his, or respectably be his mother.
Right.
And that's where a lot of the comments go. Right. I don't know. I thought it was 2024 and love is love and just we don't do these things.
Right.
And I guess that's where I'm at is kind of age is a number. And yes, there are relationship issues particular to age gap relationships. We all know and are all aware of. And it just, people work through those or they don't.
Right.
It either works for them or it doesn't. And sometimes the value of a relationship, even with problems, isn't. Relationships have different meaning for different people in different portions of their lives.
Right.
And it doesn't all have to be this one ubiquitous thing. I think we all date and have different experiences of our relationships. I think there's commonalities, but I don't think the age gap is my problem. I think her intent, the sister's intent, really seems to be to not only make every dig she can in person, cradle robber, groomer, midlife crisis. I think you used your wedding as a anvil first. I don't know that I have sympathy for you being strong-armed to realize you're kind of being Godzilla.
Right.
I don't think I have a problem with that. I think it's a legitimate fight to have. And I really only feel probably doing the RSVP would have been the technical appropriate thing to do. I think he just knew where that was going to end up and just let's get to there. And not just let it be the looming disaster that awaits me some afternoon. When she counts the RSVPs, and now I have a brewing shitstorm.
Well, see, that's just it. Well, let it call her your phone and tell them point blank, you didn't send me a proper invite. That does not, you did not invite the full.
I know, but it's one of those things you don't know. Is she going to figure that out tomorrow or next week or the day? You know what I mean?
She's not stupid.
Well, no, but I mean, though.
Right.
I think she thought she was going to break up the relationship or at least drive the wedge, and her brother, no matter what, was going to go to the wedding no matter what she did. Unfortunately, that was not the reality.
Exactly.
And no, your brother will very quickly be like, no, won't be there.
Right.
So yeah, I'm gonna go with not the asshole.
Well, I'm at not the asshole. I'm at not the asshole. Need to improve barriers. Let's see what our listening audience has to say.
All right, Bridezilla needs to focus on the rest of the wedding, not just the person she doesn't like. More to the wedding than one guest. I kind of thought that was a thing, that you ended up inviting people you didn't know, didn't care for, and just that was a wedding.
No.
All right, so Shannon says the community I grew up in, it was nothing to see older man, younger woman, but I'd never seen older woman, younger man. First time I did, after I moved out, it was a bit of a culture shock. Dude was like, is this a problem? And I was just, problem? No, just never saw it before. Grew up in a cult. And he was like, oh, let me introduce you. And she was awesome. And I'd help them pick out presents for her grandkids.
Yep. So
I gotta say, the first time you run into the younger man, older woman dynamic, it is one of those moments, like, you've seen this over and over and over again, where some guy, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, I don't know how old was the dude that Anna Nicole Smith married, 103, like, whatever. You see it, and know, the 20-year-old, the 18-year-old, the 30-year-old, whatever. You see it all the time. And then you run into the first, like, oh, she's 10, 20 years older than he is. And it does, and I think it has everything to do with, we don't see it as often. Doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, but we don't necessarily get the exposure that we normally get with older man, younger woman. So when we run into younger man, older woman, I think it is definitely a slap to, like, slap to the face is the wrong way to put it. I think it culture shock is the best words for it, I'm sure, but it is very like walking into a rainstorm. It's an ice cold water moment of, like, wait, what? That's a thing that happens. This is news to me. I what? So yeah, it does. And I do remember, and those are relationships that do typically get a lot of flack.
They do.
And a lot of angry flack. Like, there is something got to be wrong with the two of them. Like, we see younger woman, older man, and sure, we're going to make, like, there typically are social comments made about that. She's just in it for the money. He's just taking advantage and exploiting her. It's an abusive relationship, and she has issues, and so does he. He's trying to recapture his youth, but we don't seem to have the animosity. Well, you know what I mean? Like, there's not that, like, really grit.
There does seem to be a level of animosity, but the animosity is normally after the older partner has crossed. I mean, look at all the trouble Anna Nicole Smith went through when her, husband crossed.
This is true. But even at that, like, I mean, it's still not really the same. Like, when we see younger man, older woman, like, that is like a hatred hits people sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just this, like, I think that's kind of sick and twisted and ew. It is hatred.
I'm going to say this.
Oh, here we go. We got some things. Okay. So Shannon says, because I think you got a great comment coming. So yeah. Oh. So he was like, guys just need to be able to date a girl half his age and it be legal, then he's distinguished. Women can't do that. I was like, no, we do half our age plus 7. We have to train them and break less bad habits that way when we decide to take a cub. And he was, how dare you and how would you know? Love it.
Yeah, I will say this because I've dated a number of older men. They're better. Like, I have less trouble dating older men comparative to younger men. Honey, you're within my age range. Don't even start that. I'm talking massive age difference.
It's not a massive age difference. It's like a couple of years.
Exactly. It's not even joke. It's not even considered that. But no, when I've dated massively older men, treated a lot better.
I can't really say that. In some regards, yes.
Yeah.
Like I've never really dated younger. Not really.
Uh-huh.
Not like the full dating experience. I've
Right.
talked to guys who are younger. I've been on dates with guys that were younger, which inevitably you pay for, which I seem to not like that part. Like, no offense. It's just the conversation gets awkward.
Right.
It really does.
Right.
But no, but I will say, like, there are some ways in which you were treated better.
Yeah.
There are other ways though that, like, I ended up because my first male relationship was with let's see, I was 19, he was 34. So 15-year age gap. I have to say there were ways in which I did feel like I was treated better than guys my own age would have treated me. But then there were also issues within that in which it was like, but I kind of felt like a play toy, not a serious partner.
Right.
Because, like, when serious issues happened, it was like the child needs to leave the room. And it was like, see, that's
See, I never had that
not
issue.
Treating me better.
Yeah.
That's kind of rude.
Yeah. The older men that I dated, I never had that issue with. Like there was better conversation, better activities planned. They knew what a date was. I didn't have to give them a dictionary of terms.
Renting a car was easier.
Renting car, fuck that. Buy me the car.
Well, yeah, no. I had Sweet and Low Daddy, okay? Literally and figuratively, he was diabetic. But no, I didn't get all the perks. And I will say there were elements of dating that were better.
Yeah.
You know, like the restaurants were nicer. There was a little more respect in that regard.
Right.
Like, it's a formal date. We have formal date protocol. We were following that. Like, I'm there for that.
Yeah.
But then some of the things were just...
See, some of the things I think with yours is partner Pacific.
I mean, he poor. No, he wasn't actually. 34 is an awkward age for most people. I think we can all agree. Like, you're in your 30s, and the career's starting to make money, but it's not real comfortable money yet.
Right.
Like, not back then, like early 2000, 2001. It's not real good money yet. And you've accumulated some debts, and you're just getting the hang of it.
Yeah.
And so it's not like take you to Paris money. It's more like, I can take you to a Japanese steakhouse. I can take you to a Japanese steakhouse.
Right.
I can do it a couple times a week.
But again, that is partner Pacific. You know. Oh, we're having to explain what Sweet and Low Daddy is. Sweet and low daddy is low financial, cannot sugar daddy you.
Yeah, he not very sweet.
Yeah, he not very sweet. He substitute sweet. Yeah. Now I've had a few sweet and low daddies. They still treated me decent, but I've also had full on
Wilford Brimley. You got a car and a house. You had Wilford Brimley daddy.
I had a car. I got a house. I got experiences and support that I've not gotten out of many other relationships, especially at that time in my life. Like the relationship worked out lovely. But that was like outsider benefit, not like insider benefit.
Oh. Yeah. There is learning for Mika today. Yeah. So there's the whole sugar daddy, sugar baby. Like, I think we're all clear on which is who. And then yes, there's the money levels.
Right. Yeah. But older men tend to be more intense emotionally. They tend to be more focused on not just the externals, but the internals, and support and confidence is there. And there isn't a lot of struggles that you have with younger people dating, in my opinion. It's like, oh, you do that? Cool. So you're like Sylvia Brown? Yeah, great. So how do you want to do that? Where's your dreams at? There's a lot of that. So where do you plan to be in 5 years conversations? And how can I enable that?
Well, yeah, there can be.
Yeah.
Again, it is very partner specific. You do have to watch out for the pitfall of whether you really are dating someone going through like a midlife crisis of I'm in my 30s, I don't know what the fuck I want anymore.
Right.
Like there's a few iterations of it. So you do have to watch out and then we get into more of like sugar baby, sugar daddy culture, which can sometimes be light escorting.
Right.
Like, so let's be careful. We're not talking like I was not doing light escorting. Okay.
Right. Neither was I.
You know what I'm saying? There's crowbar separation there.
Right.
But there are people that is what that is.
Right.
It's actually more traditionally escorting as the word was intended. This is a dinner companion that you financially support. There is no expectation of sex. That's actually kind of frowned upon.
Right.
And that's what I mean by the words light escorting. Right. Then you come out a level and there's people that aren't quite there, but they are kind of using their age and the money that they have to attract people just for fun.
Right.
Like, they're not handing you cash. They're not inherently buying you really super nice things. But they're using the flash and like the carrot system to make you, or at least providing a party environment, things like that.
Right. And then you have, May, December that are actual relationships.
This is a relationship. It's a relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
And coming with all the pitfalls and all that. So, it can be interesting. I'm sorry. I forget who sung it, but the song is Older Women Make Better Lovers.
Which is appropriate for the Am I the Asshole?
Right. And I think it's true on both sides of the gender fence there. All right, moving on to relationship
advice. Put up our poll.
Poll's already up.
All right. All right, so from ethical non-monogamy, changing rules. How do others do it? Hey, my partner and I have really different approaches to managing and executing our sex life, but we have a really strong core connection. We have tried being open and communicating our adventures or plans to one another beforehand, but turns out this places me at risk for being triggered, which has happened more than a couple of times. We need to shake things up to see if it works. We are going to try just not disclosing anything, and if he's out, that he just texts me when he's home to keep me more emotionally safe and our connection uninterrupted and not pushed aside for anyone else. Same thing with me. How does everyone else do it? Please share, because I'd like to know about fights or what has not worked and how people have resolved things. My partner and I have had 3 major arguments about this in 2 years and really want things to work out, not step on one another's triggers. Thank you.
See, I don't know. We have agreements. And sometimes those agreements stop working and it has to be renegotiated.
Well, and I think this is one of them specifically that it's not that it entirely stopped working and not for this reason. Yeah. But we did run into like the
yeah,
of like it was a good plan to have like the pre-conversation. But then we actually encountered a situation where it was like, and the realization, this isn't always going to pan out.
Right.
In the way that it's supposed to.
Right.
And so what we more so need to do is communicate when and where it's logical.
Right.
You know, that necessarily stepping to the side to Mother May I on an evolving situation.
Right.
Isn't really where either of us wanted to be.
Right.
But it was sort of the agreement we made unintentionally.
Right.
And that's sometimes I like for us it was just kind of that's not gonna work, is it? Because it was, and I forget, one of us did a date.
You.
Okay, then there was I want to say it was like self-service or something.
No.
Or what was it? Oh, I'm about to get a private message. I've gone off the rails. Oh, yeah. So yeah, it was more so I didn't know what exactly the course of events were going to be. And the course of events were changing rapidly. And then it kind of became a situation of, I didn't mean to not do the thing, but I don't think the thing was exactly gonna work out. As in, we had an agreement, we had a planned agreement. The agreement made sense in a given situation.
Right. It looked great on paper.
Yeah, looked great on paper. In certain situations, it'll work beautifully.
Right.
And then we encountered a situation where that doesn't work.
Yeah.
It did not work. It spectacularly did not work. And so it was basically a moment of like, is that really what we need?
Yeah.
Is that really what's important here?
Right. But also you have stupid shit. That's like
yeah,
the big
and
issue
again,
today.
you don't want to have to mother may I every 5 minutes. Like if you plan for A and it gets to like A++, it's not really a B, but it's a little more than you thought it was going to be.
Right.
Like a spend the night, like you intended to go on a date. The date went really well. And now it's looking like an overnight.
Right.
I don't necessarily want to sit there and think there's gonna have to be this whole moment where it's like, I lied, because that's fundamentally in the agreement how this is gonna go down. That this isn't what I thought it was.
Right.
So now I'm technically in a lie. And now I have to choose to either honor the agreement and leave and stick to what was originally said, versus this went a different direction and under different expectations.
It would have been a non-problem, and we worked it out, but those change. It's like we had other rules that are like, are you fucking, looking back, it's like, well, that didn't work well.
Yeah. And I think in a lot of respects that sometimes the agreement malfunctioned.
Right.
And I've kind of got off on tangents before with it. Agreements, I think, need to act as like a generalized framework where you're more interested in what are the concerns and like what do you need.
Right.
Like the in-between is where people get lost and start making a lot of like requirements and rules.
Right.
And it's the outsides.
Right.
Like what's the input? What's the output?
Right.
What like you get focused on the in-between.
Right.
It's the two ends of it.
Right. And see, the other part of that is, balancing out, and the bigger part there is making sure that if you make an agreement or you make a plan, like, every Thursday is my Thursday. That come high hell water, that in Thursday occurs.
Guess what? The first thing that happens is hell or high water.
Right. So it's more important.
I will guarantee you, if you make an agreement like that, the first thing that will happen the very next Thursday will be a problem that prevents it.
That's why, that's when you framework in the or another day.
Yeah.
Because what you're needing is personal time.
Yeah. And that's where the communication is. What do you want out of this? Like, really, nuts and bolts. What do you want out of it?
Right.
Like, is it really about specifically on Thursday, between this time and this time?
Right.
We spend that together.
Right.
Is that really what you want out of it? Or is it, I want a block of time with you.
Right.
That one way or another, we figure out how to do on a mostly consistent basis.
Right.
As best we can within what the world we live in is.
Exactly. And that's, negotiable spaces. But it's not only that, but remembering those agreements, not just for a week or 2 weeks, and just stop doing them because you forget, because you don't care, because you're not thinking, but to continue them or renegotiate it. And it's, so how often do you change your rules? When it's necessary.
Yeah. And sometimes that's daily.
Yeah.
Like it is. Like sometimes it's daily. I really, though, always struggle with the word agreement. and I think a lot of couples struggle with the word agreement because it sounds like a contract.
Right.
And I'll say that's where this usually blows up.
Right.
You cannot treat this like a contract.
Right.
You have to treat it like a memorandum of understanding. Like, what do you need? What do you want?
Right.
What is this supposed to accomplish? Like, what's the grand idea behind it?
Right.
Instead of sitting there and, like, because some of these get into 20, 30, 40 pages. Where people... And then the other problem with agreements is usually they end up getting created by a couple, almost universally by a couple, and only from the couple perspective.
Right. And that's where it should apply for the couple.
Well, but herein lies the rub, is that usually within the agreement are things that end up controlling another person and the relationship and how that works and what's allowed and what's not allowed and how, and the whole point being that a lot of the time when people get hung up on issues with the agreement, it really, if you back it up, it's like, who is this magical person you had in mind when you wrote this?
Right.
Because you put a lot of terms and conditions on that person.
Right.
Without really ever considering what it would be like to be that person. So now you're creating a framework for their relationship.
Right.
That they have no input on.
Right.
So again, that's where it kind of all comes back to the importance of the word agreement is that it's not a contract.
Right.
That it needs to be more about what's the expectation? What are we trying to do? And what do you fundamentally need? Like, what's the goal accomplished?
Right. And, where's that working at and what's that working with? And then, when, things change by choice or by merit, then you got to go back and discuss.
Always helpful. Always helpful.
Yep. All right. So let's check out our poll. And the results are, no, you are not the asshole for telling your sister, fuck off.
Invite my girlfriend or else. No, I think, like, honestly, I don't like it, but it was effective. That's where I'm at with it. I think that sums up where I'm at the best is I don't really like it, but it was effective.
Exactly.
Yep.
All right, guys. We look forward to seeing you on Sunday with Psychic Plans.
All right. And of course, we want to thank Beverly Walker, Mika G, Kathy, Mary Winfield, Brenda, Shannon C, Shannon D, Lady Gwendolyn, Charles Shaw, Tracy Van, Caitlin Bell, and Devin. If you'd like to learn more about us, the show, or how you too can become a Patreon sponsor and receive all our wonderful benefits that our baristas receive, please visit us at pcspnetwork.com.
Good night, y'all.
Good night.